What would you say are the biggest issues that are facing our city for the next year, the next 5 years, and the next 50 years?
I think that when I first got on the council, we passed the sales tax, and that was to really speed up all the infrastructure repairs. And that will continue to happen, whether it be storm sewers, the separation of the sanitary sewers and storm sewers, the roads, and definitely more sidewalks, making the city more walkable. So that's one thing, is infrastructure. But then I think we also need to look at how we can reimagine doing public safety and bringing different aspects to delivering services. And then I believe the other one is continue the reinvestment in our neighborhoods. We started a program called Invest ESM, and I think that has shown that there is a new strategy to how we go about doing neighborhood redevelopment. And we need to expand that and continue that.
Now, the school district has struggled quite a bit in the last 3 years. They've seen continual decline. The pandemic only amplified that issue. Parents are sending their kids to schools outside of this district, to the suburb. How does the city of Des Moines deal with the continual move to the suburbs, oftentimes for access to education, or access to lower tax rates, or access to bigger bang for your buck for housing?
Well, I think that's the ongoing thing. You know, we in Des Moines are finally feeling what maybe other cities have felt over the many years, you know, when you look at other major cities. And I think we just have to tell our story. I think people have to understand that our school district is a tremendous school district. We're a very diverse school district. Yes, there are issues of an urban school district that we face that maybe others don't. But I think we just have to tell our story that you can get a good education and you can find great housing in Des Moines. Yes, our tax rate is higher than some, but I think that we also give the amenities. We also have, where we're at 40% we can't tax. So I think that people in Des Moines usually, you know, they love Des Moines, they want to stay in Des Moines, and I think we just have to tell that story and provide the opportunities to be here.
Police say gun violence is increasingly becoming younger and younger. We're seeing more young kids with guns and participating in these gun crimes. Is there a plan to stop that?
Well, I think that that's something we need to come together, because it is, when you hear 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds have it, we need to give kids something to do. And we need to find a way to reach out to communities that need help and get positive activities. We need to get, and that's where we as a city can work closer with the school district. But again, it takes all of us. It takes all the nonprofits that are engaged in this work, and it takes the school district, and it will take the city to come up with solutions. Like our park and rec, we added lights at Evelyn Davis so kids could play basketball till 10 o'clock. We're looking at other areas to do that too, to give kids some place to go that's more positive and give them opportunities to get engaged in work, get engaged in things that are leads to a better path.
A lot of that has to do with finding a group you belong to as well. Some of these groups promising, hey, you're not going to go hungry. I have food for you. I will keep you safe. And that kind of leads into food insecurity. You know, if you don't have food on the table, if mom and dad can't provide you a meal, you're going to go find someone to entertain you and someone to feed you somewhere else.
Well, I think there's a breakdown of the whole social fabric. In some cases, it goes back to poverty. And as you see poverty increase, and it's increasing in the younger population. When you have a school district that has close to 76 to 80% free and reduced lunch, that is a sign that there is a great deal of poverty. So we we have to look holistic at the problem. Are we paying living wages? Are we paying, giving people the opportunity? Some people are working 1-2 jobs just to provide, so they're not home. They don't have the opportunity to be home with their kids because they're working 2 jobs just to provide for them. And in some cases, the kids are watching their younger siblings, their parents can work. So I think until you understand the real story and you hear people's stories, you don't understand the need. A lot of people are working, they're just not working at jobs that pay enough to keep them at the level where they can afford the rent, the cars, the insurance, the health insurance, and all the necessities that you have to have just to have the basic elements to have a good life.
So how can the city government help to lift people up and to help increase food security and to make sure that people can pay their rent and make sure that they have car insurance?
Well, I think it's that we can't do it all. I mean, that's not normally. We have the money that comes in from the federal government, the CDBG grants and things like that. And we have help for rental assistance. We have help on food. Especially during the pandemic, we've utilized the money. There's been millions of dollars to help make sure people aren't getting evicted and putting a safety net as much as we can. But again, it's between Polk County and Des Moines and all of us. We all need to work together in the state to understand what the root problem is, and we need to try to come up with some stronger solutions. And I think the pandemic, if anything, showed that in a greater way. We should be providing free preschool for all 3 and 4-year-olds, especially kids that live in poverty. That way their parents can go to work. Childcare is very expensive, as I'm sure you know. So I think that there's some basic things that we could do that would be much less expensive and would be more of preventative instead of always having to do interventions later. It's a better opportunity for parents to know their kids are in a safe place. It's a better opportunity for the kids to get a head start in education, and it's on down the road. So I think we need to look at some solutions that we can do. And in fact, we had a discussion of whether we don't front load. If kids are enrolled in preschool, then they get the funding, the school district gets it the next year. So do we front load to help them get into school? But the other thing with getting just into preschool is that wraparound kind of daycare experience. So it needs to be all day. But I have been advocating for that from the 14 years I was on school board, plus still continuing in my capacity on city council, that we need to do more in that area.
What can be done if you can't dictate what is being bought and sold? What can be done to increase this, to help this food desert issue?
Well, it's very hard. What we can do is to have better economic plans and try to incentivize people, to come in, just as which is already there. And so we need to probably work more diligently in certain areas. And that's what I propose on economic development, that we need to get back out in the neighborhoods. And we need to have plans for those. So once you can see how it's reorganized and what we can do to rebuild some of the neighborhoods, I think then the business follows it. It's all business for, it's all numbers. And they're going to follow where the numbers are.
And so let's kind of talk a little bit about that. Maybe gentrification is too extreme of a word, because we're not talking about taking $30,000 houses and making them $1 million houses. We're talking about making houses livable. But that's a program that the city has implemented. But there are still a lot of dilapidated homes in the city that bring down property values of houses around it. So what can be done in that area?
Well, I think that we have the 4 targeted areas, but that doesn't mean they're the only areas that we're taking down homes, and we're very much after that. And that's one thing we did with the sales tax. We've quadrupled how many homes have come down. But then sometimes it takes a long time. There's legalities involved on who owns a home, who's got the liens against it, do you pay off the liens? So I think there's a lot of things that go into it that makes it a little frustrating that it takes as long. But we are definitely making inroads into that. Because then we open up lots for people to rebuild on and reinvest and build new housing that creates opportunity for more affordable housing. Because some of the lots are smaller, so a lot of them have been taken by Habitat or Home Inc. and some NFC, so they're putting more of an affordability in to each of the neighborhoods. But within the 4 targeted neighborhoods, there's one thing that's been very successful was our block challenge grants. And it's a matching grant up to $2,500 where you have to get 5 or more of your neighbors and you go together. And what it's done is brought neighbors together that maybe didn't know each other. Yeah. And because that was so successful in the first year, we opened it up July 1st for all the areas outside of the city. There's $200,000 that's been allocated to every area of the city except the 4 neighborhoods, because they already have their money allocated to them. So it's a great opportunity again to say we're not going to just, even though we have the 4 neighborhoods we're targeting, to learn strategies to redevelop. We're going to take what we learn and take it to the other neighborhoods.
Real quick, drinking water. This has been an issue in Des Moines this summer because we're in a drought. And then now Waterworks is looking at using wells.
Well, I think a lot of communities use the wells. I think that it's just unusual that this big of a city would use it. I think it goes back to we have to look at the water statewide.
Yeah.
I mean, we're processing what's coming our way. And I know that there's a lot of discussion and it seems to end up getting political, but it shouldn't be. This is drinking water. This is for the well-being of all of us. I don't know why it's so difficult to be able to resolve and do the things that we need to do. And hopefully with the infrastructure money coming from the federal government, that people in all communities will look at how we can solve the drinking water issue. Yes, I think when we have a drought, when it becomes much more serious, it brings attention to it. It's been there, we need to get it cleaned up. It's the right thing to do.
How do you think the protests that started on May 29th have changed our city?
I think it's made an awareness of looking at social issues and justice issues that maybe we didn't face in the past as a city, because we've dealt with the infrastructure, we heard about the potholes, the redevelopment, and you hear a lot about the zoning and things like that. I think this brought a social justice issue forward for us to really be serious and look at in a greater way.
When you saw the protests head to Mayor County's front stoop, what was your reaction to that?
I was there. I went to it. I think we have to listen to what people have to say, and I think we've heard them, and I think that what I heard was we need to do a better job. We had just passed a racial profiling ban, and when the CCI had their series of meetings, I was one of the council people that was asked to attend those. And you heard the stories, and you realized that we just need to do a better job, and we need to look at how we do public safety differently, how we make it more effective for our citizens, but also for our officers. So I think there's some things I have proposed and I have been advocating and we got accomplished was similar to what, there's programs like Cahoots in Eugene, Oregon. There's a STAR program in Denver, Colorado, where you have more, the mental health crisis team is put in place. We have one, but it wasn't 24/7.
Right.
And to me, it just didn't end at like 11 o'clock at night. Issues for people. So we were able to, we have one officer that was in charge of it and she's tremendous. And so we were able, I was able to talk with the chief and our city manager. We were able to add another officer and hopefully we'll add another one. So we'll have 3 people really trained to the level that I say that Officer Garcia's. And then we actually have hired more mental health professionals for the crisis team. One of the things out of our sales tax was the Amos group had come forward and said they would be supportive if we would add an adolescent crisis team. And we have had the funding for the last 2 years, and as of July 1st, we have a team that has been hired to address adolescents. They're trained in adolescents' mental health issues. And then we will be expanding and adding more mental health professionals to the crisis team. So we will have a 24/7 crisis team.
You talked about passing that racial profiling ban, but the Civilian Oversight Board was not added to what the discussion. That was something that community members really wanted to see. Why not? Why not include that?
I think at the time, we didn't know, first of all, which civilian review, what is the makeup of it, and we already have like the civil service. And we added, what we did add though was a policy review committee of citizens to
They can't really do anything.
Well, they can make suggestions, but the Civilian Review Board, how do you set it up? And it's not that I am supportive of it. I think we just need to make sure we have a model, because there's many models that are set, but we just need to make sure it's the right model and that it's effective.
So is the door closed on that?
No, the door is not closed. For me, it's not. So. And we'll be working on it, and I know that people are bringing more things forward.
Black residents in Iowa are 11 times more likely to be imprisoned than white Iowans and 7.3 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana. There was also a lot of discussion since May of last year about decriminalizing marijuana in the city. The
Marijuana Task Force, we put together part of our racial profiling ban, and I am supportive of the recommendations. But we do have to follow the state law. I believe that we need to get the state law to change and to make it so that we can enact some of the things that people want.
What is your message to the people of Des Moines as you are running for re-election?
Well, Des Moines is a great city, and we have many things going on that will continue moving the city forward. I believe that if we all work together and we all look for solutions that will be the best for everyone, not everybody's going to get everything they want, but that we can continue to make it where you want to live and where you want your kids to grow up and where you want to retire in. Again, we will continue to work. I want to hear from people. I'm very open. I have always looked at the overall picture to find the best solutions for the majority of the people, and I will continue to do that.